So Blade and Soul has released or revealed or revamped this class that's called the Soul Fighter. I actually, not only do I not keep up with Blade and Soul, but I've actually never played it before this point. So this video is actually going to be half a quick look for, our first look I should say, of Blade and Soul and my opinions of it, and also the Soul Fighter class, which will be running in the background. So I'm getting kind of conflicting news stories about what this class is and where it came from, but I'm just going to assume from this point forward that it is like the situation of adding a new class into, say, Guild Wars 2, where it looks like this game, the sequence that I'm going through is a zone entirely specified or whatever. This area was made for the Soul Fighter and acts as a tutorial for it, which I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that, because this zone is not only very Chinese inspired, and so is the class, but it shares a similar color scheme, and you know, you're surrounded by a bunch of Soul Fighters. That kind of helps too, idiot. I can't believe I didn't even notice that. I'm only seeing that on my second watch of this video now. So like the whole time when I was playing it, I was like, man, this area kind of looks like a Soul Fighter area. That's weird. What a coincidence, right? But no, it's literally a Soul Fighter area. So what is the Soul Fighter anyway? So this character, and like I said, I've not played Blade and Soul before. I do not have knowledge of the game previously, but it seems like it's taking two different aspects of other classes and combining it into one class. So it's a hybrid class. What it seems like it's doing is that it has the Kung Fu fighter fists, you know, very brawler, close combat. It's got the it has the dodge, and it has parry. It's got the parry, which is difficult to time, but it kind of makes sense if you're like a brawler. You need some way to negate damage, and that's a very skill-based, very, you know, active, engaging way to do that. And I like that. That's cool. And I'll get into more of my thoughts about this game in general in a bit, but Soul Fighter. And it also combines the aspect of like kind of a spellcaster, but I think it's like a more short range kind of like pebble. Is it pebble? Peckle? You're peppering, that's what it is. You're peppering your enemy with like very weak spells. I guess as a way to kind of have something to damage or crowd control your opponent from a distance with, and then you kind of close the distance, and then you beat up on them with your fists. So it's kind of interesting in that aspect, but at the same time, I feel like you're just combining the literal yin and yang of two classes. But it's not like a phase from one to the other. There's a very clear distinction from between the two, at least from what I've seen in the first look of this character. I should say I really hate that they have this bright yellow text right in the middle of your screen. Also, I think my HUD could have been customized a little bit better for the viewing experience, but I wanted to get this up and going as quickly as possible without, you know, messing with too much. So that's probably just a result of that. I did try and get a 60 frames a second, at least as I was playing. It does seem to play or run fairly well. But the Soul Fighter class in general, I'm not that impressed with it. I think maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't like the spellcaster aspect of it. Like, I do like, I've always liked that kind of brawler class that deals a lot of damage and takes a lot of damage, but is able to either sustain through it or negate enough damage of it. But it doesn't seem like that's not the core aspect of this class. It seems like they're trying very hard to get this hybrid class in there, and I actually have no idea what the other classes in this game are. So maybe that was a class that was desperately needed or wanted. I have no idea. I can say for certain that there was a class in Guild Wars 2 that they released called the... Was it called the Revenant? Yeah, it was the Revenant. The Revenant, right, yeah. And they pretty much did the same thing, where that class was a combination of different classes. So it had, like, its skill tree literally was, like, direct references to other classes. Or not references, but direct... like they fell right in line with the other classes. So, for example, you'd have one skill line that was the Berserker, you had one skill line that was the Archer, and so on and so on. No, I don't think the Raven had an Archer class, but something along those lines. And I feel like I'm getting the same vibe here, where it's an add-on character that is combining other aspects of other classes as a way to remain familiar, but at the same time try and bring something a little bit new. But that's not all that interesting to me. And even if I haven't played much of this, and I was already bored by the Soul Fighter character, I'd much rather. But that may just be a personal preference. I'm sure a lot of people got a kick out of this character. You get it? You get it? I do really like the starter zone. I'm pretty sure this is like a new starter zone, and I do like this way of introducing a new class is through a very nicely themed around this character kind of area, and a way to show off all of his spells and everything while fitting smoothly. And that you may see at the end of this video as I go into what I think is the main area, because it stops being this very heavily Chinese inspired yin yang kung fu fighter theme into like a more dark and swampy kind of thing. But anyway, so Blade and Soul in general, this is a really cool game, and this is kind of acting as like a first look for Blade and Soul as well, both because I haven't played it and maybe because this is a good way for players to get into this game. And I only have, it looks like 2 minutes, but that should be enough to kind of express my thoughts. And I like it. I feel like it's it reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy 14, right? I hope I'm getting the numbering right. But it's it has the MMO, classic MMO, traditional MMO thing going for it, where you have the quest, you have the text dialogue, you have the go from objective to objective, and follow and do stuff, right? But at the same time, it has a very action combat. It has a very action combat way of going about things, but I think it's a little bit more actiony than even Final Fantasy 14, and going more towards Guild Wars 2. But Guild Wars 2 is way off the hook in terms of action RPG, which is why I like that game so much. But this kind of it leans further in the direction than maybe Final Fantasy 14 did, and I like that because I thought Final Fantasy 14 was maybe a little bit too slow, a little bit too structured. I feel like this gives up the reins a little bit in favor of more player freedom, and I like that. That's cool. I think the initial startup process for this game was a little bit tricky, but I think that's just because I had to recover my account or something like that, something stupid. But otherwise, it's pretty easy to get into. It doesn't take too much computer aspect. At least I don't think so. And you can go straight into the options and configure it just the way you like. A lot of the games, a lot of MMORPGs that I've played don't actually do that. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. You should be able to change all the options within the main menu, and not have to start the game up, go through the intro cutscene, and then start changing stuff up while you're being like, hey, get over here, the town's in trouble, you gotta save the town, let's go, let's go. So I believe, and I skipped all of the, or at least as much the cinematics as I could, because I think if you're interested in this game, and it is free to play, you should definitely check it out for yourself, because it is pretty good. I think the whole production quality and presentation is all very good. Definitely I'm surprised I've never even played this game or heard of this game that much, but I definitely put it up there. Maybe not the World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, and Guild Wars 2 tier, but maybe just the tier below that. But it's still pretty good. And I believe this is the transition into the main game. And it's pretty jarring, gotta admit, but this game is cool. Blade and Soul Fighter, pretty neat. I think if you're trying to play Blade and Soul for the first time, I wouldn't necessarily go with the Soul Fighter first. But if you're returning, I'm sure you're gonna get. It's gonna be pretty fun. I also see this other Soul Fighter, I think, running around the town. And I'm trying to run around with him. It's neat though. It looks great. Plays well. Thanks for watching.